Hi everybody, it's Lori Monks here. Welcome to today's webinar. Thanks again for everybody coming today. Today we're going to get to know the Book of Style. We're talking about the 3rd edition specifically today, so if you have a different edition, follow along as best you can and we'll go from there. But I just get a lot of questions about how to use the Book of Style, and it's something that I had to learn myself the hard way, so I thought what better to do than to teach you guys how to use it. Okay, so what is the Book of Style? This is a very common question that we get. So basically, the Book of Style is often referred to as a medical transcription Bible. So it's a set of standardized formatting rules. It has references for grammar and punctuation and usage. And this basically helps to keep transcriptions consistent and accurate. Accuracy being very, very important. So with the Book of Style, I know when I took the course with CanScribe 10 or 11 years ago now, I only had the hard copy version, and I just found that it was very intimidating. I basically read the parts that I was required. I would try to look things up and get frustrated. It was just this ginormous book of just nothing but text, and it really kind of freaked me out, to be honest. And I really wish that I had to if I could go back, I would really just spend a lot of time looking at it, flipping through it, getting familiar with it, because I have found that the more time I spend in it, the more I've gone through and so on, that the less intimidating it has gotten, the more the layout has made sense to me. It's gotten a lot easier to look things up and so on. And there were some really special spots in the Book of Style that I will show you that I found really handy, that I really didn't notice until after I had graduated, and I was pretty disappointed in myself that I hadn't discovered them earlier, and it's no one's fault but my own, to be quite honest with you. So really just play with it, get to know it. I'm going to show you all of the different uses of the Book of Style, all the different icons and stuff that we can use, and just play, because you cannot mess it up. And it's only just going to help you get to know it and take the mystery and scariness of the Book of Style away. You also want to remember that when you guys are writing tests, that with this school, the first place you want to look for information for tests is the course material, but the second place you're going to look is the Book of Style. While I've got you, the third place would be the Stedman's resources, and then if you still can't find an answer, look online. But the Book of Style is the second resource in our hierarchy when you're doing tests. So again, if I were to go back and take the course again, what I would actually do is before I wrote a chapter test, I would look for any pertinent information that relates to the subject I'm on in the Book of Style. And again, I'm going to show you those sections when we get to them. But what I would do is just quickly look through them before I did the chapter test. So that way, if something, I couldn't find it in the material, I would hopefully have the light bulb go off, like, okay, yeah, I saw that in Book of Style, and have an idea where to go. And when you get into the more medical related chapters, for example, if you started skeletal and you're doing those reports and they were talking about something related to that specialty, hopefully, again, that light bulb will go off and you say, okay, skeletal is related to orthopedics. You could go to the orthopedics chapter and find information about formatting things to do with that. And that was something that I missed in the Book of Style. So I just feel like it would save a lot of time and frustration if I had just looked at, any pertinent information in the Book of Style. I'm not trying to memorize it, I'm not studying it like crazy, but I want to see what's in there. So hopefully, again, that light bulb will go off and I can go and check it out. Okay, so another question that we get, and something that caused confusion for me as a student, was, are we going with the account specifics? Are we going with the Book of Style? What do we do? So for those of you who have not reached the body of the whole chapter yet, the account specifics are introduced at that point. And what they are basically when you work for a company or an account, they give you a set of formatting rules that they want you to follow above the Book of Style. So they want all of the reports for that hospital or that company to all look consistent. So they will ask you, we want the headings to be formatted this way. We want time to be formatted that way. We want double spaces or single spaces after periods, like all of those sorts of things. And so when you're doing a report, anything to do with formatting, you want to look at the account specifics first. The account specifics are always going to trump the book of style. So just always think account specifics always get their way. If there is a rule in the book of style that is different than a rule about the same thing in the account specifics, always go with the account specifics. So you want to really get to know those once you're introduced to them. Go to your account specifics first. If you can't find it in there, it's something that's not covered in there, then you're going to go to your book of style. Okay? Okay. All right, so there's different versions of book of style, different things to look at, so I thought we'd do a little bit of a comparison because I do get a lot of questions about this as well. So the school is using currently the 3rd edition of the book of style, but very recently a 4th edition came out. So I am often asked about what you want to get. So basically the 3rd edition is just for medical transcriptionists, it has grammar and punctuation information in there. The 4th edition has changed a little bit, and it is going to cover things that don't relate to us. So there's information in there for all different medical people. So there's stuff in there for coders and ward clerks, nurses, all those kinds of things. Because of that, it does not have all of the grammar and punctuation that we have in the 3rd edition. Excuse me, all of the reference numbers that we give you during the course will be different in the 4th edition as well. So I do know a couple of people who, when they renewed their book of style, when their license ran out, they ended up with the 4th edition, and they're struggling a little bit because, again, we give them reference numbers, they can't find them. They're finding, again, not as much grammar and punctuation in it. So just as a word to the wise, if you're renewing your book of style during the course, say the license has run out, make sure you get the 3rd edition. In terms of what companies want when you get out there, it takes most companies a very long time to change what edition they're using. So when I graduated, the company that I worked for, they were still using the 2nd edition, and the 3rd edition had been out for 3 or 4 years at that time. I think 4 years, and they were still using the 2nd edition. I know the odd company that still uses the 2nd edition, and they will supply you with a copy of that since it's not readily available anymore. Other companies are using the 3rd edition. So point being that most companies will take quite a long time before they change. So you can always renew your 3rd edition, and then if you're concerned at all, then just wait and see what company you work for and what edition they're using, okay? Now, we also have 2 versions of VitalSource that you can all access now with the redemption code you have. You can use a VitalSource bookshelf that is a desktop application, or you can open it on the web page, and I've supplied the web page there, bookshelf.vitalsource.com. I tend to use the web page quite a bit. I may be using the desktop more today because I find the text is more clear, so you guys will be able to see it a little better, but I'm going to show you both. They are laid out very similarly, but there are a few differences in how you access certain things. So we'll look at those today, and you guys can decide for yourself. But you're going to log into either or with the same information, and then you can decide what you want to use. The other question I get quite a bit is, do I want to get a paper version of this, a hard copy, or just want to use the electronic book of style, which is what eBOS means, the electronic book of style, which would be your desktop app or your web page. Honestly, when I took the course, there was no eBOS yet, so I had to get the paper version. Some people really like to have a hard copy version of everything, and I used to be that way as well. I am not encouraging you to go one way or another because everybody is so different. But what I found that once I got a version of the eBOS, the electronic version, I found it so much faster and so much easier for myself. When I was using the paper version, I was going into the index trying to look up something that could be on 30 different pages, and now I'm flipping back and forth and trying to find it on the page, going back to the index when it's not exactly what I wanted. I found it very slow. But I have liked having my paper version just in terms of studying it and checking it out. You know, I could take it wherever. So it's really up to you guys. But I do encourage that right now, if you don't have a paper version, to play with the electronic version, like I said, and get to know it and decide what you want to do from there, okay? Everybody is so different. Okay, so the book of style is laid out in a number of sections, and then those sections have chapters within them. So just to quickly go over them, and we're going to go over them more thoroughly soon, but you've got section 1, that's the legal medical record. So that's going to talk about the different report types, formatting. I know there's some information about headings, and there's an example of a letter in there. It talks about turnaround times. Section number 2 is one that we use a lot. That's your general standards of style. So that's where all your grammar, punctuation, capitalization, plurals, possessives, abbreviations, that's all in there. Section 3 is another one that I use quite a bit. So that's where you're going to see where to format your numbers, the percentages, that's supposed to say ratios, not rations, your ranges, so numeric ranges, units of measure, that sort of thing. It talks about verbules, so if they said 1 to 2 over 6, that kind of thing, it's all in there. The other spot that I have used a lot are the specialty standards and nomenclatures. So this is a spot that I missed when I was a student, and I just kicked myself after. So these are specialty specific chapters. So for example, there's one chapter just about pharmacology, one just about cardiology. I just think of how much time I wasted trying to look up how to format certain things, like for instance a heart murmur, how do I write that? And finding different things on the internet and getting confused, whereas if I had just gone to the cardiology chapter, there's a little page on how to write heart murmurs. So this is another spot where if you're doing a chapter that's related to a certain specialty, it doesn't hurt to have a look in the book of style to see if there's a specialty chapter that relates, that could help you. So I love those. They also have classification systems. So any specialty that would have levels, grades, stages, those types of things, the most common ones for each specialty are listed on a section called classification systems. And we'll get back to that too. Section 5 is one that I'm not in there often, but it might be worth a look. So industry trends and standards. So it's going to talk about the history and evolution of the industry. It talks about different groups that have been made to help with these things. So HL7 is in there. SNOMED, I believe, is in there. So if you're doing certain chapters that talk about legal stuff and different groups, then that's a good place to look as a backup. And then you have the appendices in the back, which I think get ignored quite a bit. They have some sample reports in there. Now remember, again, the count specifics will be different for us. There's a usage glossary, which is fantastic. It talks about sound-alike words or homonyms, if you will. So is it abduction or adduction? And it's going to explain to you. So that's handy. We'll show you that. Talks about common industry abbreviations and more. So again, this is where playing with your book, getting to know it, flipping through it, you'll discover a lot of these things that I missed because I was too overwhelmed by the book to do it until later. So learn from my mistakes, get to know the book style. Okay, so before I get to the next spot, are there any questions on the information that we've covered so far? I know that we're moving very quickly. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the desktop version versus the web page. So they do look a little bit different. I've just taken a very quick screenshot of both, so before we get into it in more detail. So this is the desktop app. So I want you to notice, of course I can't click on these right now, it's just a screenshot, but you have the magnifying glass to open the search, table of contents icon, a notebook, which I do realize, I just always look at it and think it looks like a wallet, but when you click on that, it's going to show anything that you had highlighted. You've got the bookmarks tab there. The one with the picture is a newer thing. They've got something where you can put in emoticons and stuff. I haven't played with that much, but that's what that is. And then you have flashcards that you can make if you wish to for studying. Down in the bottom left is the spot to log out, what page you're on. If you want to bookmark the page that you're on, you would click here. If you want to do a fast flip through the book, you would drag that along. There's settings there for to change the how zoomed in you are in different views of the book and so on. Prints, which will only print so many pages at a time, of course, copyright issues. The sound icon is if you want it to read something out loud. So that's how this is laid out. It's very slightly different. You will notice this little gray bar with the arrow. If you click on that, then all of the search and so on the left there would disappear and you would just see the book. Teresa's asking if the bookmarks and highlighting are lost if the license lapses. I do believe that that would be the case, unfortunately. You would need to ask AHDI if you were to renew your license, if you could keep the same redemption or keep the same book. I'm not sure. I just have a feeling that you'll lose the license. I do know you can get, I think it's a 3-month license, a 6-month license, a 1 year, and then there's like I'll call it an eternity license. You would have it forever. And by the way, if you have your free student membership with AHDI, when you log in and you go to the AHDI store, which is where you're going to purchase your eBOS, at least your electronic version of it, you get quite a good discount. Just remember too that the prices on there are in US dollars. Just be aware of that. Okay, so let's just look at this desktop app again, just have a look at how things are laid out, because I'm about to show you the web page version and you're going to notice a few things are different. Okay, here's the web page. So it's very close, I'll give you that. The one thing that I've noticed is different is where the bookmarks are. So if you were to bookmark a page, if I want to bookmark this page, I'm going to click on the bookmark, and if I want to view the bookmarks, I have to click on this little arrow beside it, whereas the other one, they're all listed on the side, on the left. Now, this one has this little funny bottle here, which we'll show you in a bit. It shows different settings that you can use and so on, so you can play with that, but we'll show you. Most of the rest of it's pretty close. The settings, excuse me, I've got hiccups, of course, little settings icons down here in the bottom. I also find that with the web page version, I have to play with it a little bit more to get the text clear, but I often just go to the web page, maybe just because in the morning I'm opening up different tabs for work for the day and it just gets opened with it. But I'm going to show you both. I have a hunch we're going to do most of it in this in the other app because it's a bit more clear to read, but you guys can give me your feedback, see which one you think is more clear. Okay? All right, so let's check them out. Get excited, everybody. So I'm going to just pause my screen sharing for a second as I open up something else. So bear with me. Let's do the web page version first. Okay, so I'm going to share. Okay, so can you guys see the bookshelf? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to write, if you guys have your Stedman's ones on your bookshelf too, there you'll see more than one to choose. I'm just going to choose Book of Style. Okay, here we go. So it's opened up on the last page I was on, actually, since I've already been logged in today. If I were to hit this Home tab, it's going to take me right back to the last page we were on. So if you wanted to switch between your ebooks, you would go there. Now, we have the table of contents. Now, the VitalSource version of this page doesn't have a search bar at the top of the table of contents, but the web page does. I have found this to not be very helpful. This particular search bar will only search words that are in the names of the sections and chapter names. So if I were to search fraction, that's not the name of a chapter, so it's not going to come up with anything. So I think a lot of us get frustrated trying to search because we're actually searching the table of contents rather than the whole book. So just be aware of that. So now you're going to see the same thing with the other version where you're going to have the title of the book, page 1, and the back cover. So where's the rest of it? So with either one of them, if you just click on page 1, there you go. It's going to open up every single section and chapter name, okay? It's very, very important. So basically with this, let's just say, I know with the course chapter, the Grammar Style chapter, it asks you to read section 2, chapter 4, Parts of Speech 4.1. Okay, so here's section 2, and underneath the section, so remember I read you all the sections earlier, and I said they all have chapters within them, so here's all the chapters within that. So it wants us to read chapter 4. Okay, so I click on chapter 4, and it's showing me now the home page. Now, I'm going to try to make this bigger for you guys. see here. Hopefully that's fairly clear. I know it's a tiny bit fuzzy, so bear with me. But basically then, 4.1 is the section. Now, when they ask you to read 4.1, that includes all of these little subsections, so 4.11 through to 4.17. And since it's the very first thing that's there, we just scroll down. There's the start of it, and you can use your arrows to scroll through. Okay? So basically, the other thing too is, when you're doing the grammar and style chapter, it talks about usage, which is like your plural agreement and so on. It talks about punctuation. It talks about plurals and possessives. So even though we've just asked you to read that one section, it doesn't hurt to get to know what's in the others. It's completely up to you. But for me, it was a lot of added information that was useful, and it was good to know where it was. So again, never hurts to get to know what's in those sections and what else might be helpful for you in the chapter that you're in. Okay, let me just see here. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything with this. Okay, so then basically when it comes to searching, you want to hit the magnifying glass one, and the same on the other app. So if I want to search a word, I'll just use fraction as an example. There you go. So it's in there 15 times, and then you would just click on that. Result, it will open the page and it will highlight where it is on the page, so you can find it really quick, which for me is a huge advantage over the paper version, because I would be going to the back and okay, it says it's on page 122, and then I got to go find 122, and then I have to find where the word is on the page. So this is why I like this version so much. So you can just go through and see which result fits. Okay, now the other thing I suggest for something like this, fraction, I would also add an S and do another search for the plural form. So we had 15 hits for the singular form, and now there's 16 more for the plural form. So we would have missed half of the results if we had just searched one or the other, okay? So that's something to keep in mind as well. Okay, so our notebook, you may have noticed on the last hit that there was something highlighted on a page, which I'll show you soon. In my notebook, it will show me anything I've highlighted. It shows me the date I highlighted it, and then if I were to click on one of them, it will open that page for me. Now, if it's to do with bookmarks, let's say I want to bookmark this page. I'm going to click on the bookmark thing. Okay. Here is why I like the highlighting in the notebook better than the bookmarks. When I want to look at my bookmarks, at least on the web page version, it just shows me the title of the book and what page it's on. It doesn't tell me anything about the information, so I have no idea what any of these are about. So I have tended to highlight things and go into the notebook and scroll through to find what I want. Okay. Now with the highlighting, let's just find something else here to highlight. The highlighter is here on the web page. You can choose, now fast highlighting means that anything I highlight at all is going to automatically highlight something, and sometimes I'm trying to copy something out to send information to you guys, so that's not always handy. So if I don't want it to do that automatically, I just click that and this will stay up at the top until I acknowledge it, and then if I want it to be, I can choose the color. So if you guys want to decide, okay, blue highlighting for this, yellow for that, you can do that. So let's just say I do it in yellow, and I highlight the information, and the only thing is sometimes selecting is a little bit sticky. There, it did it automatically for me because I had turned on the fast highlighting. Now, so the other thing to see is that all of my stuff on the bottom has disappeared. So if I just click this little up arrow, up it comes. Let's say I don't want fast highlighting on, and I'm going to highlight something else. It's a little tricky. Then I can choose, do I want to copy it? Do I want to make it into a flashcard? Do I want to highlight it? Those types of things happen when you don't have the fast automatic highlighting turned on. So it's up to you how you want to do that. But if I now come back into here, the last thing I highlighted should be in here. Let's try, if I just go back. Oh, it goes into order. There it is there. That's the last thing I highlighted. Okay, so that's how that works. with the notebook. Okay, so here's the fun part. I have not played with this a whole lot, so if you want to turn on emoji reactions, I really haven't played. Oh, there we go. I can add any of those that I want. Define means if there's a word on the page that I want to try to define, I want the definition, then I can do that. Now I find that the define thing doesn't work as well as, oh gosh, it's not always easy to highlight. Lookup in Wikipedia has worked a lot better for me than define, but there we go. You could highlight a word and have it be read aloud if you want. If you're working at night, you're finding the white and black contrast is a bit too much, put on the night display. So that maybe makes it a little easier to read. Oh, there we go. Investopedia is really more to do with books that have to do with accounting and money and stuff like that. Sketchpad, I haven't played with it too much. Looks like they're getting rid of it anyway, so I guess that's done. Okay, and then flashcards. This is another thing that you can use. So I had started one thing. So if I were to, let's say I want to add something else to it, I'm just going to have a look at it. So what I had done here is I just said what reference numbers for fractions mainly, 10, 3, 7. So let's say I wanted to add another one to it. Then let's say I wanted to do decimals, and then I could write 10.3.6, for example, and save. So I've accidentally made a new one. Let's see here. Anyway, so play with those. I had it going perfectly earlier, of course. But let's say that we want to read the one deck, then you would hit play, and then it'll choose which ones you want to do. And you can play with your flashcards. So again, it's optional. It's there if you want to play with that. Now the settings tab down here, or icon, is going to say for language and stuff like that. I don't find that there's a whole lot of stuff that we're able to change in this, but there's your settings. I want to get that back. Okay, so then let me just check something here. Sorry, my chat box is in my way. You will notice that the page you're on in the eBOS is slightly different than the page itself in the hard copy book, so just keep that in mind. But this is the page of the eBOS we're on. We already talked about the bookmarks, print, the zoom options, so I could have it fit height. I could have the whole page show. Fit width means it just fits exactly from side to side. And I can zoom in and out with these if I wish. Oh, that's nice and clear there, but we only see part of the page. The highlighting, again, citation and copy URL I've never used, but anyway, so those are the basics of the web page, okay? So I'm going to move to the app. Are you guys all able to see the other app now? Perfect. Okay, so I want to show you guys different ways to look things up. This took me a long time to kind of get my groove with this, so I'm going to show you a few different things. I'm going to show you if you know the reference number, if you know the keyword, and then what do we do if we're not exactly sure what to look up. We don't know what the word is, we're not sure what the reference number is, okay? Now, I want to make sure you guys can see. Is that okay? You guys can see the text there all right? Perfect, okay. So here's some of the differences with this again. So if we were to click on the top here, it opens this different things the same as what's listed here, so it's sort of funny. Here's your home tab instead, it's just slightly inside. Now the search is up at the top instead of your table of contents being at the top. Oh, you do have the search table of contents. Perfect, okay. When I looked not long ago, I did not see it. So anyway, so search book would be where we want to look if we're trying to find certain thing like fractions, for example. For table of contents, don't bother with that search box. It's very unhelpful, if that's a word. So for this one, I want to see how there's that little blue arrow, so we know that's the one we want to click to get all the different pages open. Okay, here's our notebook. So all the things, and you will notice that everything I had highlighted in the web page version is showing up on the app for the desktop app because it's the same license. So they are still showing up. Now your bookmarks are here. So there's those 3 bookmarks that I had just showed you before, but they're here. If I click on them, it'll take me to the page, but I can't just at a glance tell what they're for, which I find frustrating. So that's why, again, I like to use the notebook instead with all my highlighted information so I get a good, so here I accidentally had highlighted one letter. So I'm going to delete it. Click on the 3 little dots, delete, highlight. So I like that better, but anyways, there's the bookmarks that we had, and then the flashcards there as well. So, okay, so let's just say that we want to go by the reference number. So let's say that your graded report said to check out 6.5.2. So you're just going to go to search book and type in 6.5.2, and it's going to show you the results. Now, most of these reference numbers will show you 2 results. One is going to be where it's listed on the home page. Not super useful. It's usually the second one that you want to get you to where it starts in the book. There will be the odd one. Let me see if I can think of one. No. Here we go. Okay, so this one's in there more than twice. So the one, of course, is where it is on the home page. This one here is just showing me where somewhere else in the book had referred me to 10.3.12, and 10.3.12 is on the last one, the one that I want. So every once in a while, you may have to look at more than one page to find the one you want, but I love that it's just instant. Just takes you right to the page, highlights it for you. Me and my old eyes don't have to go searching for it. So this is why I love the eBOS personally. Okay, so that's how we would look up if we're looking for a reference number. So again, don't go into the table of contents search. You want to go here to search the book. Let's say we're looking for a word. So just like I did before with fractions, let's try suture. Okay, so it's in there 3 times. So we can go through and see which of these is the information that we want. So that's not quite showing me what I want, so I'm going to try adding the S on. Look how many results, 14 of them. So you could go through really, really quickly. So I think sometimes we get complaints that it's too hard to find the page you want, but to me, I could go through this within a minute and it would be so much faster than looking in the book to just quickly find the information that I want. So certain subjects are going to be covered in more than one reference number too, like clearly sutures is covered in various spots. So you may want to go and make sure you've checked them all to make sure you've got all the information. I can see all of this is on page 268, so I'm going to come back down to the bottom and it's taking me to the index. So I know that I've got them all. So that's how you look by the word. Now, what do you do if you don't know what to search under, which happens all the time? So I'm going to go with an example that I think it was last week. I was looking for a reference number to give to a student. So basically what I was doing was, okay, I want to show them the reference number for how to hyphenate a number when you write it in the word form, like 52, for example, that you need to have a hyphen in it. I couldn't remember where it was in the book. I couldn't remember what it was called. So even though I'm in this book constantly, I don't have it all memorized. So what I did was, first thing I tend to do is go to the table of contents, and then I try to figure out what chapter is related to that. So this was to do with the numbers. So I just want to use my icon here. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so the first thing that I looked for is thinking that we're talking about numbers as I went to the chapter about numbers. Then what I do, let me just move my chat box out of the way. I look on the home page and quickly glance through here to see what is covered under there. Now, sorry, sutures is still highlighted because I still have it in my search box from a minute ago, so ignore that. But basically, I just want to see, is there something in here about punctuating numbers or writing numbers out? And there wasn't what I wanted here. So, okay, what's the next thing I want? Okay, so I know that I'm looking for something to do with putting a hyphen in the numbers. So perhaps it's in punctuation. And I know it's to do with hyphens. So the punctuation homepage is quite long. And hyphens don't start to down here. So hyphens, word division, compound modifiers. Okay, not what I want, but it's continued on the next page. I'm going to flip forward a page. Numbers spelled out. There we go. So that to me is like, okay, I think that's it. 654. So if you wish, you could scroll until you get to 654, or I just go to the search box and I type it in and then open again. I don't want this because it's going to be where it is here. I want the next one. And there we go, numbers spelled out. So that's how I found that particular page. Okay, so again, let's talk about the highlighting and all that stuff. If I want to bookmark this particular reference, I can bookmark it here. And then when we open our bookmarks, it would show here. But again, I wouldn't know which one it was. Okay, I'm going to come back to 654. Let's say I want to highlight it. So then I'm going to highlight it. Here we go. I'm going to choose color I want. Done. So now if I wanted to find it in my notebook, I can find it now. Let's see here. It goes by the order of the pages, I believe. So there it is right there. So I can do that. And then let's just say I want to add 654 to my flashcards. I mean, very daring trying to do this with you guys. Okay, so let's say, so plus sign, try that. That's a new flashcard deck, but okay. So I'm going to put in 6.5.4. Well, this is the name of the deck. Okay, so let's do one on numbers. Save. Oh, add cards. Okay, and then I want the front to say numbers spelled out. So this would just be if you're trying to memorize different spots, and then save, and there we go. So I can play with that if I want to, okay? Are there any questions so far in trying to search with the different ways? Because that is the part that takes the most practice getting used to, but is also the most important part. No questions about that? So again, I'm just going to go over it again because it is so important. So if I want to search for a word or a reference number, I'm going to click on the magnifying glass and search the book rather than searching table of contents. And let's say I wanted to find out, I don't know, something about dosage schedules. So I would write in dosage, and there it is. There's a whole bunch of references I can go through. If I want to look up and I'm not sure, say something about a comma, but I don't know what to call that comma. Say I want to find out how to put a comma in an address, or say they said, I don't know, Miami, Florida. I'm not sure if I need a comma or not. Then I'm going to go to punctuation. Okay, so I know it's about commas. So let's see if we're going to go through the commas, geographic names and addresses. That sounds promising. So 628. You can flip through, or you can just type it in here and see if it's what you want. So there it goes, so talking about city and state. So that would be helpful. So yeah, so what happens if you're searching for a word, you have no clue what chapter it's in. So it would be a matter of knowing what topic that you're looking for. So it says you need to look in punctuation for hyphenation. So again, if you're unsure what part of the book to look in, I would just first look and see which of these topics seem to fit what you're looking for. And this is where playing with the book and getting to know it is a huge, huge help. And that way then you kind of have a little bit of a better idea of what topic that you're looking for. And if you have one of these that looks like it's close, it all could be related in any way, then just click on it and open up and just look to see what's there. And usually one of these will go, I think that's it. But sometimes not. Every once in a while I've looked and gone, that's not what I want, so then I have to keep looking for it. And if you're really stuck, it's during school hours, then just ask us, I'm looking this up, I'm having trouble finding it in the Book of Style, can you point me in the right direction? But honestly, the more you play with this, the more comfortable you're going to get. I used to be terrified of the Book of Style. It really freaked me out just because it was so overwhelming, and it, just the more I play with it, the better I got. Okay, so let's see. Are the headers able to be highlighted as well to be visible in the notes? So you can do anything on the page here that you wish, and you can highlight these if you want to. And so anything within the book itself, but you can't highlight things over here. So it's got to be on the pages themselves. So yeah, I can see you guys all are going to be playing after this, which is just exactly what I want. I do want to show you guys a few of my favorite spots really quickly. If you guys have a pen and paper, you might want to jot them down. You guys are always welcome to make yourself sort of like a commonly used Book of Style spots that you go to. So one sec, I will get to the other questions in just a second. So I just want to show you 1.2.6. This is a lot of little hidden gems about headings and subheadings. So this talks about things like that if you have a number falling right underneath the heading, that you can start it with the number. You don't have to recast. It talks about different things like that. There's really good little hidden gems in there. The most common comma spots that I tend to be going to help students, so go to punctuation. So 622, just talking about commas in a list, is there. 631 down here. So setting off, that's where we're going to talk about our introductory elements, our interrupting elements, afterthoughts, and so on. So this whole section 6.3, I am giving that quite often, so it's a good spot to go to. 657 is another one, so you guys can always watch this again later and jot these down. This talks about, I call these the range rules. So this is basically when can we use a hyphen in a numeric range and when do we have to write the word to. Now this particular reference is repeated word for word in 11.4.1. So I have noticed the odd thing, a Book of Style is repeated again. It's just basically copied and pasted somewhere else. So if you were to get a reference from me about this in your grading, I would give you 657. But Leslie might give you 11.4.1. And it's the same information, but it doesn't hurt to just quickly check it. Okay, another spot that's really important is 931 all the way through to 933. So this is where your list of dangerous abbreviations is. It is all 3 sections. I'm just going to make this so we can see the whole page, even though it might be tiny for a bit. So all of these dangerous abbreviations, when you hear them in a report, have to be expanded. So 931, 932, 933, we expand all of them. Different accounts you have in the workforce may choose to just do 931, which are definitely required. Some may say, I want you to expand anything in 931 and 932. It's going to depend, but we do all of them to get you used to them. So those are there. I do recommend that you review those pretty regularly. You don't have to memorize them, but just enough, again, that when you hear one, you go, oh, I think that might be in the list, and you can go look it up. Some of them you'll hear often enough that you will just naturally memorize them. Okay, so 931 to 933. 13.2.4 talks about dosage schedules. So these are more drug dosage abbreviations that you're going to hear often, but these are not dangerous, but just tells you what they mean. If you're hearing a bunch of letters given after a dose and you're having trouble picking out which is what abbreviation, then these are the sections that you want to be checking. Okay. 9.4.2 is a favorite. It talks about symbols. They're in alphabetical order, so ampersand, degrees, talks about the number sign. It talks about plus and negative, percent sign, that kind of stuff. So this is a very handy one as well. 10.3.6 and 10.3.7 we talked about a little while ago, just very quickly, but 10.3.6 talks about decimals. You want to use decimals for metric measurements and so on. And then 10.3.7, which I will just forward through, talks about fractions. And when do you use a fraction in numeric form? When do you want to write it out? So those are really helpful. The other spot that I really like is 10.3.12, or sorry, yeah, 10.3.12. Get to the right page. Its explanation of sutures just blew my mind. It made things make a lot more sense for me. So it talks about suture sizing. It talks about how to write catheter sizing, needle sizes, pins, screws. So these are really good bits for surgical reports. Okay. Now, again, I want to talk about these the specialty chapters. So 13 to 24. Love these. So I'm going to give you an example. let's say that you are doing a report and you haven't covered cardiology yet, and they tell you a bunch of EKG lead names. Okay, well, I know EKG has to do with the heart, so it's cardiology I'm going to look at. Clearly, I go here a lot. 14.2.2 is going to list the EKG information, so I don't feel like scrolling. I'm just going to go 14.2.2, go to the page, and it shows you how to write them. And I come here a lot because it's a funny combo of Roman and Arabic numerals, uppercase and lowercase letters. I do come here often. So even if they give you something to format that you haven't covered yet, you can just look in these specialty chapters. So that is helpful. Again, pharmacology, so if you're having trouble with dosage stuff at all, oncology, dermatology, orthopedics, which is skeletal and muscular, it's in there with neurology, which is your nervous system, obstetrics, so let's say they talked about the obstetrical course and you're not sure how to write it. 19.1.2, it's not too far, so I'll just come to it. So the history, when they talk about that for a pregnant woman, how to write it is right there. So these are things that I wasted so much time trying to look online to find, and it's right in the book. So that just hurt my feelings. So I talked to you earlier about classification systems. So let's say, where's oncology gone? There it is. So cancer staging and grading. Let's just make this a little bit bigger for you again. I need to be able to see it too. So cancer staging and grading. Now for cancer, it's just under that, but there's also classification systems, so there's more. So if I go to 16.2.1, okay, shows me, okay, stages are Roman numerals, grades are Arabic numerals. It talks about all of that stuff. And then it gives added classification systems, so Broders Index, and so on. It gives you common classification systems you're going to hear under oncology. So these are so useful. So really, I do urge you that when you go to do a chapter test, go and see if there's a specialty chapter that applies and have a quick peek. And then that also means that once you get into the reports, hopefully that light goes off, like, okay, yeah, I saw how to do the cancer staging in Book of Style. Okay, now someone is just asking me, is it safe to say we'll be purchasing this book in one form or another after the course license expires? Now, if you end up needing an extension in the course and you have to renew the Book of Style, you can get a new license. If you're wanting just the book itself, then that's up to you if you want it or not. You can also decide to see, do I want to see what company before I buy a hard copy, because they are more expensive. Do I want to wait and see what company I work for, what version they're using, and if they're going to supply me with a copy? If you're still in the course and say you have 3 more months to go and it were to expire, I would go and renew the EBOS, and because you can get a shorter license for it. If you're interested in the book, you can buy them through HDI, but you will have to pay shipping from California, and they will be a brand new book. You can also look on Amazon and try to get it shipped from Canada. The other thing you can do is look for a used copy that's in good condition on Amazon and save some money that way too. It's completely up to you. Okay, so I am going to quiz you guys. So give me a second here so I can try to get back to my presentation again. Oh, wait, hang on. Be patient with me. Okay, let's see here. Okay, can you guys see the PowerPoint again? No? Okay, I will try again. Okay, how about now? There we go. I will get the hang of this eventually. All right, so we have our game show guy here. It kind of reminds me of Gene Rayburn from Match Game. All right, so I want you guys to have one of your Book of Style versions open. If I ask a question, it's just something you know automatically off the top of your head. Please just hold back a little bit and let someone else get a chance to go and look it up first before you spit out the answer, okay? Okay, here we go. The patient has a discrete mass. Which way do you spell it? Now, the one thing I forgot to show you is in the appendices. So open up, I want you to go into your table of contents and scroll to the bottom to the appendices. I want you to find Appendix C. That is a usage glossary. It's going to show you a whole bunch of sound-alike words. I want you to go and find discrete. Which version of discrete do we want to use? So again, if you're following along, go to your table of contents, scroll to the bottom, find the appendices, go to Appendix C, the usage glossary, and open that up. And I'm sure some of you will have a eureka moment when you find it because it's very handy. It's also not a bad spot to review now and then. Okay, we have our first guess, B. Anybody else, B? Perfect. Do you guys like what you see when you open up that usage glossary? All right. The answer is B. You guys aced it. This patient has a discrete mass. So the other discrete kind of means more like I told him a secret. He's going to be discreet about it. So be careful because we're not talking about a polite mass at all, so it changes the meaning a lot. So again, Appendix C in the usage glossary. You guys are awesome. All right, here we go. You ready? The dictator said he should take Tylenol UD. What does UD mean and how should it be written? This was a bit of a tougher one. We did just talk about where to find information about dosage schedule abbreviations. So let's not forget about our pharmacology chapter. Okay, we've got one guess there. She was quick. Perfect. I've got another one. Okay. I'm just going to give everybody else a chance to find it. Perfect. All right, here we go. They're spilling in now. So this should be written UD, so lowercase U period D period, and means as directed. So it's in Book of Style 13.2.4. As just as a side note, if your sentence ends in one of these lowercase Latin abbreviations where you've got a period after each letter, the period after that last letter, so say it ends in UD and that's the end of your sentence, the period after that D doubles as the period for the sentence. You don't need to add an extra period after it, just as a little side note for you. All right, I wish I could do a drum roll, but I can't. So, okay, her MRIs were normal. We will monitor her RBCs. Her MRIs were normal. We will monitor her RBCs. I want you to tell me, how would you write the plural form of MRIs and how would you write the plural form of RBCs? So we're talking about abbreviations, we're talking about plural forms. So here's a good case where you're not sure where to look. Her MRIs were normal. We will monitor her RBCs. It's a toughie. I didn't talk about this one. Okay, so again, it could be under abbreviations, and it might talk about plural form on the side. It could be under plural. The chapter wrote possessives and plurals, and it might say abbreviations on the side. I don't know. Could be either or. Her MRIs were normal, and her RBCs, or we will monitor her RBCs. We've got some guesses. Okay. All right. Everybody's really, really, really close, but no one's got it exactly yet. All right, I'm going to show it to you. Her MRIs were normal. We will monitor her RBCs. So if you have a look in 817, thank you, Heather. Our MRI is an uppercase abbreviation, and so when you have a plural form of an uppercase abbreviation, you just add the S. You don't need to add an apostrophe. You don't, because an apostrophe can be mistaken as a possessive. And then for RBCs, this is actually a lowercase abbreviation. It shows it in 817. And for lowercase ones, you want to put an apostrophe S because you don't want to have the S be mistaken as the abbreviation being RBCS. So that shows it as a plural form even though it's got an apostrophe. Awesome. Great effort, everybody. All right. Okay. You would find a semicolon in which type of a list? And you will get bonus points for our imaginary keeping track of a score. What is the book of style reference? So you would find a semicolon in which type of a list? A simple series or a complex series? If you know this off the top of your head, don't shout it out yet. I want people to have a chance to look. Give me the reference number. I can hear the wheels are turning, the steam is coming out of your ears. I can hear you all thinking and searching. You would find a semicolon in which type of a list? A simple series or a complex series? What is the book of style reference? Okay, we've got a reference. And what kind of list is it? Is it a complex list or a simple series? Okay, got a few answers coming in. Good job. All right, you guys are amazing. All right, answer is B. It's a complex series. So if anyone couldn't find it, have a look in 642, and it's going to talk about different uses of semicolons. There is actually a little bit more in 635 about a semicolon that has to do with transitional phrases. So something like, I was going to do the dishes last night. However, I was not in the mood when I finished work. So you could go semicolon, however, comma, blah, blah, blah. So 635 also has some stuff about that, but 642 is the one that talks about using it in a list. It also talks about basically joining two very closely related sentences together. Again, no more than two sentences. So you can't keep adding 3, 4, 5 sentences together with semicolons. So semicolons are something that I do give that information out to students often. So have a look at that. All right, here we go. All right, the patient was in a fight and sustained a Lefort level 3 fracture. So first of all, who can tell me what specialty a fracture might relate to? This is going to be your first step. What specialty would a fracture be related to? Now, orthopedics. Okay, perfect. Sandy's got it. So when I was working perfect orthopedics, so have a look there. How do we write Lefort level 2? This is a classification. My main account was in downtown Toronto, and there were a lot of bar fights on the weekend in Toronto, so there were a lot of facial fractures. I do not know how much time I wasted trying to look this up online because every single spot I looked did it different. And when I finally realized to look in the orthopedics chapter, there was a big, you know, when you slap yourself in the forehead. Okay, we've got a couple answers coming in for C. Anybody else? Have a look in your orthopedics chapter, and on the side, when you open up that chapter, look under orthopedics for classification systems. Okay, another answer coming in. All right, just going to give you an extra minute. This is a tough one. Okay. All right, so someone gave me the reference, which is great. It is 1815, and everyone who gave me the answer is correct. It is C. So for those that haven't found it, go check out 18.1.5. So basically, you would want to open your orthopedics chapter in the specialty chapters, and then look on the list of contents on the side, on that page, and under orthopedics, find the classification systems and go to that section, which is 1815. Now, because it starts with an L, it might not be on the first page. You might have to scroll through them a little bit. Perfect. So this was my light bulb moment, was Le Fort fractures. I was so upset with myself of how much time I had wasted online trying to find how to write this. Every website said something different. So I was very excited. This is how I discovered those specialty chapters, and I cannot stop talking about them since. They've really helped me a lot. Okay. The patient passed out while holding a boiling kettle. She suffered third-degree burns to her abdomen and arms. So you could search burns. You could search degree. You could go, okay, burns have to do with what specialty, which you might not realize yet. So it's for your skin, so it would be dermatology. So you could search a few different ways. You could go to the dermatology chapter. You could look under burns. You could look under degree. How would we write third-degree burns? I wish I had the music to match game to play while you guys are looking, because it's so much fun. I've got my little Gene Rayburn cartoon. Third-degree burns. All right, we've got someone who has found the spot. A couple of answers there. Third-degree burn, 1713. You guys are fantastic. Okay, so this is a case we're not going to hyphenate third-degree burns, even though it looks like it's acting like a compound modifier. The spot in 1713 asks us not to hyphenate it. So here we go, third-degree burns. All right. You guys are amazing. I love it. So thanks for joining. Now, we do have a couple of extra minutes. If anyone's got a quick question, we can do that. I'm going to just show you the usage glossary since I didn't show you that either earlier. So how was that one found so quickly? I think that people might have done, they might have gone under burn. They might have looked under burn, so there's their third-degree burn. They might have gone degree and gone through those, if there's a lot of stuff about degree, or they might have gone, okay, if you burned your skin, skin is dermatology, so there's the dermatology chapter. Dermatology classification systems, so it's third degree, it's a class, so 1713, and then they could go there. So there's a few different ways you can go about it. There's the burns information there. So yeah, some people are quick, but again, some people may have been in the course longer and they've had more time to play and get used to it. So that's why I really do encourage you guys to play. So here's the table of contents. I didn't show you this earlier. I knew I would forget something. Okay, so appendices down here. Appendix C is your usage glossary. So if they said assent and you're not sure what spelling, it's going to explain the meanings. I mean, you can always go and look up the different spellings in a dictionary and see which fits, but sometimes you're not aware of all of the spelling. Ablation versus oblation. This is really handy, and again, it's something that you might just want to review every now and then to just help you learn it. You know, let's say you're watching TV and commercials come on. You could read this for a little while and get to know it. There is the index as well if you would rather look things up that way, if you're having trouble. So there is that as well. So just play. Go through the whole thing, see what's in each section, check out, you know, the chapters, what's in the chapters, flip around, play with all the buttons, see what it does, check it out. So back to the RBC. So for me, RBC, you can try typing it in different ways. It does show it there. It does accept capital. So you guys were right. If it was capitalized, if you decided to do it that way, it'd be capital R, capital B, capital C, and a lowercase s. You got me there. It's an acceptable variation. I'm used to writing it lowercase. I'm old school, I guess. So either way would have been fine. Sometimes I will do like with periods, because if I'm not sure if it's a Latin, but if it is English words or medical words that aren't Latin and there's an abbreviation for it, there's rarely periods between there, usually for your Latin abbreviations. So another spot that's handy, just so you know, time reference. It's a weird thing to call it, but time reference is going to talk about time. So military time, and it's going to talk about regular time, and then versus clock reference, which is we incised at 10 o'clock. You know, that kind of thing where they're talking about a position. So time references and clock reference. I should stop saying references. Clock reference and time references. I've had to look those up quite often too. So anyways, thanks for coming, everybody. I really encourage you to just go and play. If you get stuck, you have a question about it, then don't hesitate to ask us. It's really not so scary as it seems. I cannot stress enough how much it used to freak me out. So just play, get to know it. Someone is just asking, the industry is very gray area rather than black and white then. So yeah, there are a lot of exceptions for things that frustrated me too, but the more you do it with repetition, it gets a lot easier. So try to be patient with both yourself and with the different references. And then each account I had different formatting rules that they wanted followed, and I would just get to know them as well. But the Book of Style is your basis, and it's your foundation, so you really do want to get to know it. All right. Okay, everybody, you guys were brilliant and fantastic and so much fun, so thanks for coming, everybody.